Right, well, you heard what I had to say, V. You now can have the whole studio. The floor is open to you. Why was this rule changed in the first place?
James, in 2003, up to 2008, the rule was framed slightly differently. And there was an opera at Newmarket Racecourse. I think you were clearly aware of what happened when a Gary Alexander filly, I think, ran third. And the starter was supposed to call a false start. He did not. And the rule allowed them to declare the horse a non-runner, which they did. The third favorite in that race obviously ran unplaced. Huge opera at Newmarket Racecourse. Similar to what happened yesterday at Cloverwood, they actually wanted to strike as well. So to level the playing fields, I think the rule's fair, the way it's positioned. Putting my betting executive cap on from a racing operator perspective, you wouldn't want to be in a situation, James, if you trained Horst Schechner for the Vodacom Durban July, for instance. He loses 5 lengths at the start and he still wins the Vodacom Durban July. Do you want the horse to be scratched?
I think that was the reason that the rule was changed, was that in races like that, if something happens at the start and the horses are not pulled back because it's a big race or whatever, and the horse does run in the first 4, why should the owner and the people that have backed it actually end up being inconvenienced? The question comes from yesterday's thing is that that's a very good rule as far as those instances are concerned. But when you have an instance like yesterday, it's got to be very unfair on the punter to end up doing their money on this horse.
James, I wouldn't want to throw stones, but for me, why the false start wasn't called is the real issue here. Okay, that's the real issue. Why wasn't the false start called?
Well, it's not for us to discuss, but it looked like this sequence. The horse turned over upside down in the pens, okay? It should, this is the way I see it, and tell me if I'm not wrong. It should have maybe been taken out. It wasn't taken out. The pens should have been tested because all the horses were taken out, and then maybe they would have found that this pen was faulty or it got jammed because the horse turned over in the pens. They weren't tested. All those things led to the pen not opening and the horse not coming out properly. The race looked like the jockeys weren't even involved. We heard the commentary. Clyde, you've been in racing a long time. It looked surreal, didn't it?
Yeah, he was. I heard Craig, and you also would have thought it'd be a false start called because the gate didn't open, and you automatically assume. But perhaps he didn't see it or something to that effect. I don't know what went down, and maybe it's something that the guys need to think about. Where I understand that in the case of the Stipes, your hands are tied, you can do nothing. That's what the rule says because they've placed and they've earned money from it. But maybe a discretionary rule needs to be applied to at least give them that opportunity.
Well, in talking to Graham Hawkins yesterday, and you've had lots of discussions with Graham, you know him very well, and he's one of the guys who's involved in these rule-making things. My discussion with him was that there's got to be an escape clause for the rules enforcers, which is a stipendiary board, in every single circumstance, and there's no escape clause in this rule.
But James, whatever you do, you'll never please all the people all the time.
That's
the problem. When I was at the NHA, I looked at the rule very carefully. I brainstormed it on numerous different angles, and you're never going to please the people all the time. In this case, people wanted those to be sketched because the favorite ran in the money. It was all sweet. Your pick sixes were in. Never affected it. But the entire situation could be reversed if your favorite never ran the first day. Now you're affecting PA players. What about the person that backed the winner? What happens to that person? So the rule states the rub of the green principle will apply when the starter hasn't called a false start in this case. So that's where the rub of the green principle comes in. So whatever we discuss, if you brainstorm it and look at the result and analyze every situation, you'll find out there's actually no real happy solution for everybody. So the best is, that's why the starter is employed, to try and overcome these issues.
Is this not a scenario, and I think sport and racing falls into this, there's always winners and there's always losers.
That's where that about the green.
Every single event that is ever played out, there's a winner and a loser. You backed a horse that ran fourth and there were 15 runners, you didn't get your places, you know.
But James, the guys that we're meeting later today,
Yeah.
they don't complain.
Yeah.
They lose the money, they say, but they feel, I think with Craig calling it, with everyone seeing it, the jockeys turning over, it was like a no race in their mind. But the Stipend board have no option to follow the rules. So we're in a situation, we're in a stalemate situation. It's very difficult to please all the people all the time. And if you look at amending that rule, there could be further repercussions.
Could there be further repercussions? If the rule says, okay, that the first four will apply at the discretion of the Stipendiary Board, and the Stipendiary Board had turned around and said, listen, this horse was a hot favourite. The second favourite won, which became the tote favourite. It's actually in everyone's interest that this horse gets scratched, because it actually was in no one's interest that the horse didn't get scratched.
But James, what's the purpose of a rule? You can't have, that means the rule is not consistent. You see, my problem is if you have a rule and you treat it differently because of a result of a race, that's wrong. I understand. Do you understand where I am?
I know exactly what you're saying, and I hope everyone else understands it. But we've got more important things to discuss. I'm glad you're here and able to give your input, because I know you've been involved in the integral part of these rules, and you've worked on both sides of the fence. You're now on the other side of the fence. You've got lots of things going on in the betting world, and betting world being a pun, but in the betting infrastructure in this business. And you're doing a wonderful job, and you've got lots of innovations. But one thing is still stuck in the craw, the open bet. It seems like a problem. What are you guys able to do about it? How do you approach it? Is it a problem that everyone says it is?
James, the open bet is my biggest struggle. You must understand the open bet is legal. It's basically, in a nutshell, James, on speaking to people, people don't understand the effect of the open bet and what it does. The open bet is a bet struck, is a tote bet struck at a bookmaker, and the money does not go into the pool. Now, if a bet is struck onto the tote, about 16% goes into, or goes back into racing. But if a bet is struck with a bookmaker, that same bet, only about 3% of the winnings goes back into racing. So there's a serious discrepancy with the open bet, in which that you are aware that tote funds horse racing. And it cost us about 700 million to stage horse racing in South Africa per annum. And the tote contributes 88% of that. And the fixed odds environment contributes 12% of that. So that's where the discrepancy comes in. So the open bet is a serious problem. It's very difficult to overcome now. We're looking at overcoming that issue through big pools down the line. So it's a challenge, James, which I'm working every day on. But in saying that, the bet is legal in South Africa, the open bet.
Okay, the bet's legal in South Africa. The bookmakers turn around and say to you, that's not the case. We're not actually taking so much out the pool. The figures are a figment of the imagination of the operators. How do you answer that?
James, I've got within the Mpumalanga region, I can quantify. 3 years ago, my analysis stated that the value of the open bet, I believe, was 500 million. Today, I can revise my estimation. I say it's close to 700, three-quarter, or 750 million. So there is a serious dent to the open bet. It's too profitable not to do it. There are bookmakers that models, the whole business is modeled around the open bet. So facts, 500 million is your base.
How do you get past it? You guys went to court, you lost the court case. Whether you should have lost it or shouldn't have is highly debatable, but you did lose a court case. Is there any other recourse? Is there any other way that you can do it? Is there not a way that you can sit down with the people that are running the open bet and say to them, listen, we'll give you this if you give us that. If you don't give us that, then we're going to put a little noose, tie you. People have said things like, make bookmakers pay much more for the Teletrack feed, that type of thing, you know.
That's, James, that's been handled at the higher level through Rian du Plessis and Ken Rutherford at that level. I've had discussions with the bookmakers. The current complaint is that our commissions that we offer them is too low. And when you look at the margins of the open bet and the commission that we offer them, you have no option for you to do the open bet. at some stage. But it's hurting horse racing. You've got to understand, James, as I said, 88% of the business is funded through the tote. 12% is coming from the fixed odds environment. What is the split of turnovers, bookmakers and the tote? Do you have an idea?
No idea.
It's about 50-50 as we speak. So 88% to 12%, but turnovers is 50-50. So I need to try and balance that process up. It's a task which we have sleepless nights.
Well, before you have any sleepless nights, let's go and have a look at what Magic Millions has got to offer, and then we'll be back with Clyde and find out if he has any sleepless nights. Orator's daughter won at the Vaal again, and Ottomo ran second, was very, very unlucky. This horse missed the break completely in the 1400 meter race. Let's come back and go and have a chat to Clyde. Nice to have you here as well. V's got his problems. You got no problems. Everything's swimming up there in Mpumalanga regions. You've got big races coming up. Tell us about them. What have you got planned?
Yeah, thank you. We're in Triple Crown mode right now. The first leg of the Triple Crown, the Sascock Triple Crown and the Wilgeborstrift Triple Tiara have come and gone. Won by Talina and, of course, Cherry on the top. And are both really good horses. Whether Talina can go through and win the Triple Crown or not, I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about Talina, because, you know, we can talk about all the promotions you're doing. Talina's a very interesting horse, because if you look at his pedigree, there's no reason why he shouldn't go through the Triple Crown. He's got plenty of stamina on the dam side.
Very interesting. I mean, you know, you look at what is he up against, and perhaps it's very thin, and there is an opportunity for Talina to pull it off. Is he a horse chestnut? Probably not. But nevertheless, the competition, you know, maybe not at the level that we think it might be. And there's a great opportunity for Talina to get it right. More from the Wilgeborstrift Tiara, Triple Tiara version, where Cherry on the top for Orban Ferraris came through and won. She just seems to have the scope to go through and win the Wilgeborstrift SA Fillies Classic and the Oaks now. And that's going to be very, very interesting. We saw Igugu, of course, win the Triple Tiara. And she does seem like you know, a talented sort. So it'll be very interesting. It'll bring the people to come and watch her in action. Come the end of March. It's on Easter Saturday, as you know.
And it's yearling sales time as well, which is obviously a huge boon for the industry.
Well, yeah, sales is at the end of April, of course. National yearling sales. That's on Champions Day.
Champions Day,
our
yeah.
big day.
That's the final day of the Triple Crown.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. That's when the SA Derby happens and the SA Oak happens. In terms of theme, look, it does fall on Easter weekend, and as you know, there's a public holiday on the Good Friday and on the Easter Monday. So a lot of people may be away, but we have some great opportunities for people to win lots of prizes and to come and enjoy a family day out really on Easter weekend at Turfentine Racecourse on that Easter Saturday. Some fantastic racing. It leads up into Dubai World Cup night as well. Not forgetting about that, and hopefully Gugu will take up her place. But it's going to be a very interesting day's racing, and we really invite everybody to come out there and join in the festivities of Easter weekend.
You've had a couple of promotions recently, and unfortunately I'm allergic to prawns, but apparently this Prawn Fest was absolutely incredible.
It's amazing how it worked, how well it worked, and you know, we tried it in Cape Town as well, and fortunately through Lectron they had lots of prizes to offer as well, Keith Steinberg and his team. And it worked very well there too. I was pleasantly surprised by the number of people that came out to try it in the Western Cape. Look, there are teething problems naturally from these things, and we learn as we go. In Cape Town, they sold 500 kilos of prawns, and in Johannesburg, we sold a ton. So they bought a ton, they sold. And we, as I was saying before, you know, we even a ton of prawns. It's actually amazing. We had calls, funny enough, from people. No, I'm like you. I'm allergic to them. People who own restaurants and you know that are in that business phone and said, "Where are you getting these prawns from? How can you be selling it at these prices?" And we were like, well, you know, because it's obviously through the caterer. And we were saying, well, listen, we don't. This is not something that we do every day.